As I was saying, you can buy new stuff. Classrooms, whole schools, gymnasiums, sports facilities, whatever you need to do. Bonding is limited to a maximum of 10% of the total taxable assessment of the property in a school district. This is called bonded indebtedness. As your bonded indebtedness is paid down, you can vote more in its place. The trick is to keep taxes flat. As you have one rolling off, roll another one back on. People don't mind their taxes staying the same, but they sure hate it when they go up. Okay? Taxes go up, hard to pass. Taxes stay flat, a lot easier to pass. Taxes go down, hard to ever pass them again. Okay? So schools that are haves, schools that have stuff going on, who've passed bonds, they can pass another. So the haves, that's a good way for the haves to keep on having, and that it makes it harder and harder and harder for schools who haven't had a bond pass in a while to do it, because they simply are going to raise taxes. There's no way around it. Taxes are going to go up. If you're a small town, you don't have much business, you're not growing, it makes it more difficult. The locals have to shoulder more of that. I was in a district that grew really, really fast, and so we could show people that yeah, you can vote this in, but before it's over, you're going to have to pay about half as much as what you would have to pay if we didn't grow. So that's a pretty good deal. So, you know, it's a stacked system. The haves will always have more in Oklahoma than the have-nots. That's just the way it works. And there's other stuff that is a benefit to that. Now, we've been in a budget crisis for a few years, and so they've waived a bunch of rules, okay, like class size and things like that. But if you're 85% bonded, meaning that if my school is big enough and I can vote $10 million in bonds and I have $8.5 million or more in debt, if I've got that much bonded indebtedness, then guess what? I don't have to abide by any minimum classroom standards. Okay? Now that poor school over there who can't pass a bond, classes are overcrowded to start with, they have to follow that rule, assuming we're in a regular world. In 2009, you had to follow that rule because it wasn't waived right then. Okay? So again, that's another way where the haves can have more, and the have-nots are just, you know, they're just sucking their thumb. Okay? That's just the way it is. All right. Now, friendly lawsuits, what are they? That's a way that schools can raise money too. You don't want to do that. That's a horrible deal. That's when a school has basically gone broke. And you as a teacher or somebody who provided something for the school, maybe the milk vendor for the cafeteria, whatever, didn't get paid. And so they can sue the school, and it's called a friendly suit. And guess what? That's added right on the tax rolls. You don't have a vote. You don't do anything like that. It's just like a bond, and it's paid off by upping the property taxes on everybody else. Okay? Now, that was local revenue. Okay? So we talked about those things. We got the mills, and we've got bonds. And that's about it. Okay? Two ways. Mills, bonds. Bonds are just extra mills. Okay? You can vote them in up to 10% of the evaluation of your district. If your district has a taxable evaluation of $40 million, which is pretty low, then you can vote $4 million in mills. You don't have to, but you can. Just so long as you don't already owe $2 million. Then you can only vote $2 million. You can only vote 10% or less of your assessment. And that's everybody's property in your entire district. I know that's hard to understand, but it's really, really, really simple. Okay? Listen to this over and over. That's all I can tell you, because I speak the truth. Okay, let's talk about state revenue. There are basically two types of revenue: state appropriated revenue and state dedicated revenue. Dedicated revenue is the stuff that is codified in law that we get a certain percent of, we being public schools. Okay? State dedicated funding comes from four basic sources. Oh, the old chargeables are about to rear their head again. Gross production, which is tax monies derived from oil and gas production, minerals, energy, whatever you want to call it, okay, fossil fuels, money that comes from that, okay. Some counties and districts have a lot, and others don't have much, okay. So they're based on production. Doesn't mean you don't have oil under your school. If no one has discovered it, you're not going to produce it. Or if they discover it and then decide not to produce it, they just turn off the spigot. When the prices are low, hello, that's where we're at right now. We've got oil and gas here like nobody's business, but we're not producing it very much because the prices are low. So it's a production tax. It's a depletion tax. So when it's pulled out of the ground and sold to somebody, that's where the tax comes from. And since they can control production, then it is feast or famine. When the price is high, we like it a lot. When the price is low, they quit producing, and so it's feast or famine. Okay? And like ad valorem taxes, okay, we talked about before, it's a chargeable. Okay? Jinx has a lot of ad valorem taxes. Well, they don't get much state aid. In fact, they don't get hardly any state aid. There's several districts in Oklahoma, a half a dozen or so, that just don't get any state aid because they either have so much oil and gas action going on, or they have lots and lots of homes, beautiful homes, high dollar homes. They don't get a lot of state aid. Okay, so like ad valorem taxes, gross production taxes are chargeable. Feast and famine. We got a big check this year. We may not get a check next year, and so on and so forth. So we go in and out of state aid, in and out of state aid. Okay, it's just like a roller coaster. You like that? You like the roller coaster effect? No charge. Okay, there are others that are chargeable. Let's talk about them. Motor vehicle collections. Every time somebody buys a car and pays their excise tax, okay, that's a use tax. Buy your tag, that goes back to the school district that you live in. It doesn't matter where they buy it. It doesn't matter where they buy their tag. It's allocated back to the address of the buyer. Okay, it used to be paid at the assessor's office, okay, or the tag office, wherever they sold it was who got the money, and that wasn't fair. Okay, so it's allocated back to the school district that you live in when you buy your car. Okay, so motor vehicle collections are dedicated monies that go to schools. Okay, REA tax revenues. This is money paid in lieu of property taxes by rural electric cooperatives. They are just like a public utility. That's what they are, except they aren't companies as such. They are cooperatives. They're owned by the members. They're owned by you. If you're People's Electric or Canadian Valley, those are all REAs. Okay, if you have a REA co-op in your district, you get this money. If you don't, you don't. If you are let's see, Bethany in Oklahoma City. That district's only 1 square mile, and it's in the town of Oklahoma City. They don't get any REA money, so they don't worry about it. It just doesn't happen. But most of us have some rural areas, and so we get some of this, okay? And there's also some other money that we get, and it is called school land money. School land money. There's a lot of land out, particularly in western Oklahoma, big grazing land out in the Panhandle and places like that, that the state owns. But it's not just out there. There were several acres in every county in Oklahoma that were reserved for schools. And then the schools went out of business. And in some cases, they were merged into other schools. In some cases, the land reverted back to the school land. It just depended on if they liked the local schools or not and what they voted to do. But there are school land in different places all across the state. And for years and years, nothing was much done with this. We didn't get a lot of money from it. But a few years ago, Cliff Scott he retired from being the state auditor and inspector, and they got him to go over and kind of run the school land office. And what did Cliff do? He started investing this money wisely. And he started getting better rents for it because companies were renting it, and we were leasing mineral rights and stuff like that under this property. And so this is a huge amount of money now. It's a chunk. And schools get it, okay? There were lots of federal lands. A lot of these were Indian lands or were set aside for the Indians by the federal government, things like that. And to acquire these lands by the state, the federal government required that the Oklahoma Constitution provide that the income from this land be dedicated to schools. So even though there's a lot of money to be made there, it goes to us, and it's allocated on a per capita basis. You don't have to be right next door to that land out in western Oklahoma to get paid for it. It's all of our land. It's state land, okay? So we all own it in common, and we all share, okay, in the value of this land. We get rent money, we get mineral leasing rights, things like that, and we sort of get money from the sale. Sometimes they actually do sell some of this land, but really we only collect the principal on the interest. But we still get money. It's all goes into the kitty, and it is distributed back to schools based on your ADM. Okay? It's part of your ADM. We'll talk about ADM more later, but that's a big deal. Okay? We get that money. So, let's see. Let me check and see where we are at in the notes. And I really think that this is a good place to kind of check ourselves and see what we've learned so far. Okay? We talked about local, state, and federal revenues. Local, state, and federal revenues. But we really haven't talked about federal revenues yet. Okay? So let's do that. Okay? Federal revenues. What are our federal revenues? Well, that's our title money. That's our lunchroom money. Okay? Stuff like that. And I think that's a good time for us to break this off right here. And we will just end this one with local funds and state funds. And the next film will go on into federal revenues. Okay? All right. I look forward to talking to you then. Thank you very much. Bye.